Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh Polly, it's for your sake alone. I left my dear old father, my country and my home. I left my dear old mother to weep and to mourn. I am a rebel soldier and far from my home. It's grape shot and musket and the cannon lumber loud. There's many a mangled body, the blanket for their shroud. There's many a mangled body left on the fields alone. I am a rebel soldier and far from my home.
Okay, folks, thanks for joining us here today on the broadcast. I'm your host, James White. This is the 9th day of November 2020, if you can believe it already. This is the Critical Disclosure broadcast portion of the show brought to you by Northwest Liberty News. In an hour, I'll be on Montana Gazette Radio. And appreciate you joining us and supporting us on all these platforms that we're on now, multiple platforms. Today's show, we have a returning guest who's been probably my most been on the guest on my show probably more than anyone, I would think. Michael Volpe, investigative reporter and author. He's got a great view there too, Chicago, where he's at. I didn't realize he had such a nice view from his window. He's going to probably maybe flash that if he can during the show, maybe not. At any rate, Michael Volpe is a best-selling author, and he's written for numerous different publications, Daily Caller and others, and he has his own blog, Provocateur blog. Been on the show again, as I said, many times, and we're always delighted to have him here. Let's bring him on the show. Michael Volpe, let me turn your mute button off, or let me hit your thing for mute. How about that? Let's put it through. There we go. Michael Volpe, thanks so much for joining us here on Critical Disclosure Radio. Appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. I don't think I'm best-selling, but I am an author.
Well, you're best-selling in my book, Mike.
If based strictly on James White's rankings of best-selling. All right. Well, you know what? Based on the latest results released by James White, I am.
Well, let's put it this way. Of people I have on the show, you have the best. You have more sold books than anybody probably. So you're probably bestseller in that aspect.
All right. Well, there you go.
Appreciate you having me here today, Mike. We're going to talk about some things that are, I think, troubling to me and you, quite frankly. And we see here, it's even in Montana. And I've got a link here. I've got some links, of course, that we have for the show, and I added two at the very end too from Montana. If we have time, I'd like to hit that because it's right along the theme that we're going to be talking about today. But why don't you kick it off, Mike, and let us know here. We got some links here. I know Judge Knudsen, I think he's in Minnesota. We've had numerous guests on the show that have been in his court and. Sometimes it hasn't turned out well at all. In the case of Kara, I believe, is that right? Kara Witkowski?
No, this is different. Kara Witkowski is John Dalton.
Yeah,
David Knudsen is Sandra Grazzini-Rucki and others.
That's
you also had Jessica Hartger on the show.
That's right.
He played a role that we're going to talk about. So this actually formed because I sent you an article that I had done, and Knudsen was a part of it. I don't even know if you'd say he was featured in it. And you said, have we exposed this crook yet? So I think it's a good time to expose this crook. So we're going to do like some gimmicks, the Sports Center top 10 or David Letterman's top 10. You remember those, right?
I do remember those. Yeah, I do.
Right. We're not gonna do a full 10, but we're gonna do like our own. I think it's top 6 greatest hits of David Knudsen. But we're going to try something different. We're going to reveal number 1 first, even though that makes completely no sense. But look, if you had a poll of the greatest basketball players of all time, number 1 would be anticlimactic as well. So, the worst thing that this guy Knudsen did is all about the Rucki case. And there's a whole basket of things, including throwing the woman out of the house. That's Sandra Grazzini-Rucki, and basically setting the stage for the 2 oldest girls to run and be missing for 2.5 years. The one thing that always caught your eye is that he forced her attorney, Michelle McDonald, to conduct part of a custody trial, handcuffed to a wheelchair, gave David Rucky 100% sole custody, and ordered child support and alimony that he received, which is obviously ridiculous, and I believe that he was being bribed. And in the country, there's a few judges that really stand out as the worst of the worst. There's a woman named Lyris Young over in Philadelphia, Younge, and the Philadelphia Intelligencer did a lot on her, so you can look her up. Just one of her claim to fame is that she was reversed more than any other judge, and it wasn't even close. It was like 30-something, and the next judge was 8 or 9. And the appeals court, which they rarely do, would just take her to task for saying, you took these children away from their parents, put them into CPS custody, and there was no evidence. They weren't even allowed to testify. Clearly a lack of due process. Things that we talk about, but you just rarely hear an appeals court say it. And they did it not only a few times, but like 30 sometimes. And there's a guy out of New Jersey, Paul Iskandon, who I think approximately 200 women complained to him when Governor Christie was governor, when he was governor, approximately 200 women. It's a lot. You find 5 or 10 instances and you've got a pretty corrupt judge. When you find 200 women, approximately, the guy's obviously corrupt. And then this guy, David Knudson, is right there with them. So I think they go down from 6. So let's start with the 6th worst thing that David Knudson has done. Number 6 on his greatest hits list.
Let's see if this is the right one here. Looks like this is a subscription that I didn't get into, but at least
right. Yeah. No, that's okay. Just okay. Can you give the title?
The title is
scroll down a little bit. There's the title.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. So if you want to read it, obviously got to pay for it because it's in Minnesota Lawyer, and that happens. However, let me summarize this case. This guy was convicted of rape, but one of the jurors said that their family member was the victim of domestic violence. And when they were asked if they could be unbiased, they didn't. The answer was pretty iffy. They were like, well, I'm not sure, maybe. And basically everything that juror said, it's called voir dire. For those who don't know, remember that famous scene, My Cousin Vinny, same term, voir dire. There's absolutely no reason for this juror to be on the jury. And the judge, who was not Knudson, for whatever reason, allowed this juror to be on the jury. They appealed it. And for some reason, the judge who was on the case, I don't remember the judge's name, was not there that day. Knudson takes it, denies the appeal, and misinterprets everything that happened in voir dire. Things he said the juror said didn't happen. So the appeals court had to overrule him. This conviction is thrown out, and they took Knudson to task. One last interesting tidbit. This is all like 2-3 months ago, I think. So this is not the worst thing he did, but the most recent worst thing he did. Totally bumbling this appeal that he had no business hearing. The judge who heard the case is supposed to hear the appeal because they know the evidence really, really well. For some reason, he took it over and completely mishandled it.
And these are people's lives that are really at in the balance here, folks. And I mean, it's their liberty, it's their life, and sometimes many times it's their children and their children's lives and liberty.
Okay, so let's go. Number 5, worst thing that David Knudson did. Okay, so this is Jessica Hartker. Remember?
Yes.
I don't know if you'd like to play it, but this is her dramatic arrest. Remember her dramatic arrest?
Oh, yeah, we could play it.
Yeah, so before we play the arrest, this arrest happened because David Knudson signed a warrant claiming that she was harassing people, even though the police investigated the issue and found no harassment. And this bogus warrant that he signed only an hour or so before this incident led to this arrest. So, right, do you want to play the arrest? And this is the arrest based on this bogus warrant that Knudson signed.
Yeah, here we go.
He's not interested. He said, I broke my conditions of release. I broke my conditions of release. What was that? In a probation violation? So many people and now they're blocking us in unlawfully. What's your badge number? What's your badge number? Warrant? Can I see the warrant? You are unlawfully detaining me. I do not agree at all. You are violating my Fourth Amendment right to search and seizure. What is your name, sir? What's your name? Badge number? You got the warrant? Hey, you were there last time, weren't you? Sir, what is going on, man? Where's the warrant? There is none. He just told me 2 different reasons why I'm getting arrested. You and I both know that. No. Sir, he just told me 2 different reasons I'm getting arrested. Where's the warrant? See? I'm not crazy. Sir, I can see that. Where's the warrant? I'll pull it up on my phone, because I just called him 10 minutes ago. Can you call and confirm, please? Will you call Dakota County Courthouse, please? Babe, back out. Babe, go. Go, 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 go! Just go! Hit him! You are unlawfully detaining me! Unlawful detainment! Somebody help! I'm at the Eden Prairie! Show us the warrant. There's no warrant! Call Dakota County! And then back up, babe. You can do it, you can do it! Babe, they're opening the car! Try! Just keep going! Just do something. There's nowhere to go, Chad! You can squeeze between that. Do it. Try it. Go! They're gonna shoot us! Babe! You can do it. Focus. Listen to me. You can do it. Back the fuck up. You can fit. Go! 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 They're gonna shoot us! Go! That means... You guys! They're gonna shoot me! They're gonna shoot me! She has no warrant. There's no warrant! There's his face. I see the warrant. Show me the warrant! I'm not crazy! Show me the warrant! Where's the warrant? Obstruction of what? I always go to jail. Obstruction of what? What warrant? What warrant? There's no warrant. Baby, you can fit. For what? What are you asking a question?
So, can we get back to the regular screen? One thing, it's not clear that that warrant was signed at the time they did all of that. In fact, it appears they didn't. In fact, it appears that they needed a judge to sign a warrant probably after the fact to make all of that appear kind of sort of kosher, and he was the judge, and it led to that. So that's the number 5. Let's go to number 4.
What you're saying is they produced the warrant after they
he definitely signed a warrant because I've seen a copy of it, but she kept asking them for a warrant. If they had it on them, they should have produced it. They either had it on them and refused to produce it for her, or they never had it. And you heard her multiple times say, do you have a warrant? And they didn't say they had a warrant. This next one is also relatively new. This is him giving a woman who beat a child near to death a very short sentence. Would you mind reading the first couple of paragraphs just so people get an idea of what this judge did?
At Egan Daycare, let's see, let me move it over here so I can see it better in front of me. An Egan Daycare provider convicted of seriously injuring an infant in her care will serve little jail time under a sentence imposed by Dakota County District Court Judge David L. Knudsen, furthering a pattern in which those who kill or seriously harm children in Egan serve little or no jail time. Keep going.
Yeah, give the name, the next paragraph, and then that's it.
Under the terms of a sentence imposed Thursday, September 29th, daycare provider Mariel Grimm of 2069 Copper Lane, Egan, will serve most of her sentence at home. In a detailed sentencing order, Judge Knudsen stayed execution of the 86-month prison sentence recommended under state sentencing guidelines for 15 years. Grimm was sentenced to 30 days in county jail, a less restrictive environment than the state prison recommends under the guidelines, and 60 days of house arrest subject to electronic monitoring, according to the judge's sentencing order. Nice. So she goes from 15 years in jail down to what?
60 days, I believe.
Wow.
Now get up the next one. So that I believe is the third worst thing, or maybe no, it's the fourth worst thing. This next one is the third worst thing, right?
Let me move it back over here to the other side. Here we go. That one right there.
Yeah, 90 days in jail for home care daycare. Doesn't that sound like it's the same case? Except
Wow.
scroll down. Go look. It's a 13. Was the other person named Madeline Grimm? Mariel Grimm?
Wow, are you kidding me? The same one?
No, go to the look. Doesn't it look like it's the exact same one? Go down. Go.
Yeah.
Go to the other one. Go to the other one. Go back to the other one.
It does look like it's the same one. Her name is Mariel Grimm, and that person's name is Mariel Grimm. Oh, Mariel A. Grimm.
Wait, is it the same person? Did I get the wrong one?
I don't know.
Could've
Maybe
sworn
let's
that-
see here. Let's see here. This is Mariel Grimm, and this
Oh, it
is,
was the same person. Oh, that's my fault. Okay, so it is the same. That's the same person. I did it twice. That's my bad. No, go to the next. Go to the next one after this. Go to the next one after this. It's so. All right. This is now. They won't mention that it's Knutson. This is him giving not just a child rapist, but someone who raped like someone in his own family, and it was mostly probation. I think the guy served about a year and some change. Go look, but they won't mention who the judge is. But as it turned out, the judge was David Knutson. This happened a few years ago.
So a Minnesota man accused of raping and repeatedly assaulting a 5-year-old Egan girl in 2008 was sentenced to a 16-year stayed prison term and 20 years of probation for his action. Dennis Michael Roy, who
Do you
pleaded
notice
guilty.
that's a pattern with this guy Knutson. Likes to stay long prison sentences and then just give them long probation instead of the long prison sentence. Isn't that interesting? And by the way, when I reached out about this case, they said that because the probationary terms were still in effect, they couldn't count on it. They couldn't comment on it. I'm sorry. So by making a long probation, Knutson never has to explain his sentence. How do you like that?
Jeez.
Okay, so now, so the number one worst thing is the Rucky case, but we're going to talk about a new thing that happened in the Rucky case. So Sandra Grazzini, scroll down a little bit. Sandra Grazzini, Rucky's attorney for her divorce, is this woman, Michelle McDonald. She also wrote a book with me, Sandra Grazzini, Rucky and the World's Last Custody Trial. She was running for Minnesota Supreme Court. She lost, she got 40-some% of the vote. It wasn't really, really close, but she did pretty well considering she's a pretty conservative woman in Minnesota. In 2018, she's almost like a serial candidate for the Minnesota Supreme Court. She also ran, I don't know if it was Minnesota Supreme Court, but it was some office. She did an interview, and during the interview, I don't know if you can get exactly what she said, but she made some offhanded comments about David Knutson and his behavior during the Rucky case, where she said there was no process. And she may have said that he had a bias, but it was like a paragraph or two in a 3-minute interview. And David Knutson was listening, and he reported her to the Minnesota bar. But here's what's crazy. So this interview was in 2018. They decided to hold the bar disciplinary hearing in October of 2020 so that all of the media in Minnesota could pick it up and say that Minnesota Supreme Court candidate is facing a disciplinary hearing.
So they held it back for political purposes, of course.
I'm sorry?
They held it back for political purposes, of course.
Right. Isn't that interesting how they did it? But she made a couple of offhanded comments, and he reports her to the bar. And the next thing you know, and it was a 7-hour hearing. So here, can you get it back there?
Yeah.
So I just want, the argument of the bar is you can't say that David Knutson failed to give your client due process. So this thing right there, can you, it's an hour and 10 minutes in. Exactly. Can you get it, lawyer handcuffed, to an hour and 10 minutes in?
This one right here?
Yeah.
I think I can.
Right. And by the way, the lawyer who you're going to see is Michelle McDonald, the person they're saying who can't call him out. They're saying she can't call him out. Okay, right there, it's fine.
There we go. Oh, this is no audio, right? It's just video?
Yeah, it's just video. Now, what you're about to see is a lawyer wheeled in. That lawyer is Michelle McDonald. She's going to get wheeled in. See, she can't move, so she has to be wheeled in by sheriff's deputy. And apparently, according to the Minnesota bar, if you say the judge who engineered this wasn't fair or his courtroom lacked due process, they're gonna take you to the bar and discipline you. I kid you not. That's what that disciplinary hearing was for. Move it up like 5 minutes or so. Okay, so the person deep in the background in the black robe, I don't know if you can show him. Yeah, that's the judge. See, he's conducting a hearing, even though he knows one of the lawyers is strapped to a wheelchair. He thinks that's a fair hearing. All right? And this lawyer, according to the Minnesota bar, has no right to call him out. Keep that in mind. On September 5, 2012, this judge held what's called a telephonic conference. Remember, you and I have talked about this, where no parents were present for the Rucky case, and he ordered that the maternal aunt be moved into the house and take care of the kids without a hearing. But this lawyer, Michelle McDonald, if she says that he failed to follow due process, she's going to get taken to the bar, the Minnesota bar, and be sanctioned. And by the way, the judicial referee who conducted this did say that she, outside of the bar rules, spoke ill of the judge, which itself is outside of the bar rules. Like, you can't make an accusation against a judge unless you have more than enough evidence to back it up.
Well,
like,
here's the thing. Here's the thing, Mike. And my thoughts on that is, no, that's wrong, obviously. But she's a member of the bar. She took an oath to the bar. She's in.
Yeah, but they're saying that her saying that he failed to have due process, she can't say that, despite being forced to conduct part of the custody trial, handcuffed to a wheelchair. And by the way, during the arguments, the prosecutor, her name is Kashini Ratnayaki. She said, but she was represented by counsel at this telephonic conference. And by the way, she was. And apparently, Ms. Ratnayaki thinks it's okay as long as you're represented by counsel, then you've been given due process, even if you're not there and it's not actually a hearing, because it was called a telephonic conference, because a hearing means you call witnesses and those witnesses testify, meaning they're asked questions. And that's not what happened here at this telephonic conference. Can you get it back? I think I had a copy of this telephonic conference. If you scroll through, you should be able to keep going. I think we haven't hit it yet, if you can keep scrolling down. Wait, yes, so this is the telephonic conference. So that's 21 pages. So if you scroll, I don't know if you can figure out how to scroll through the actual document. Yeah.
I think that is,
so
right? Yeah.
This is the judge and the lawyers just talking back and forth. Like, here's the judge talking, and then he's like, Miss Elliott, and that's David Rucky's attorney, what do you think? And then she talks about what she thinks, and then the other lawyer and keep scrolling. Okay, so hold on. Here, scroll up. Miss Friedrich, right there, that's the guardian ad litem. So then the guardian ad litem speaks, then the other lawyer speaks, and they're just speaking. And then out of this happened on September 5th, 2012. They ordered the mother out of the house on September 7th, 2012. They gave her 3 hours. They told her she wasn't allowed to tell her kids why she was leaving. And they ordered that Tammy Love, who is the father's sister, be moved into the house based on what you just saw. But if the lawyer claims that there was no due process given in this guy's courtroom, she'll get in trouble because the bar feels not only did he have due process, but you're not really even allowed to question him on it. Do you see how the wheels of corruption work?
Right. Well, that bar system, that whole bar thing is wrong. That whole bar thing needs to be broken up, man. And I really hope that if we're going to make America great again, we need to get out from under the bar, because these people operate with their own. I've had, I've done a show on these, the 12 presumptions of the court. I'm not sure if you've seen that, but it's very informative. I'm going to do that show again. So, Mike, that's the last video. That's the last link that you have. Mm-hmm. So, but I wanted to talk a few more things in the link. But if you've got,
something to say.
No.
Go ahead.
I just got a couple of things at the end here with Montana, similar type situations I wanted to show. But if you want to go back to that link and we can talk about, you want to go back to that link for the video?
Before we get done with that, a couple of other things. So she was brought up on 3 different things. One of them was what I talked about with the judge. Another one was this billing dispute. It was over $50. It was ridiculous. This is how far they've gone. The other thing is that she filed a lawsuit against the guy, and they claimed the lawsuit was frivolous, and he denied. In the lawsuit, here, keep scrolling up. So in the lawsuit, keep scrolling up. In the lawsuit, maybe not. Okay, scroll down then. We should get to the actual hearing is 2 different YouTube videos. So keep going. It should be in there. Keep going. That's actually okay. So right there, not the first one, the second one. So in the lawsuit, she produced like a screenshot of his tweet. This guy, his name is Michael Broadcorp, and he tweeted out that she had been convicted of a DUI, which was inaccurate, which he acknowledges. So if you can get to 3:35 and like 15 seconds, he's then confronted with this with the screenshot, and it's pretty interesting. So play it for a couple of minutes, however long you want. If you sort of get bored of it, we can stop. But this will be Michael Broadcorp, who was the defendant in the lawsuit.
Just a little bit of trouble seeing. So I'm going to try and close out some of these other things so I can see a little bit better.
Like he's sweating.
Yeah, he is. Okay, it's going to start in a second. It's okay.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay, so this what you'll see is
everybody able to see
that's
this
the
image?
screenshot, and now he'll be confronted about it.
Yes.
No,
Okay.
Keep playing it.
Judge, can you
Play
see it?
Yes.
Okay. So Mr. Broadcorp, can you please explain to the court what this screenshot image is? And just let me know if you need me to scroll it up or down.
No, I can see it. It's a tweet from, well, it's the tweet from David Channon with the Star Tribune, who tweeted that Michelle had been DWI conviction of former Supreme Court candidate Michelle McDonald was upheld Tuesday. That's not my tweet.
Okay, so first, if I'll just back you up a little bit. So at the top here, I don't know if you can kind of see with my mouse.
I can see it. Yes.
Okay, so at the top, it says reporter Mike BR. Do you know what that means? Like, why is that written here on this phone?
She might have sent me, I don't know what it is. It could be, it appears that she has she looks like she's using an Android phone. I don't know. It may have been a text exchange or something. I don't know.
Okay, is this screenshot from Twitter?
No, it's not a tweet from me, and it's not from Twitter.
Okay, and there's a date here in the middle, 2/16/16, 6:02 p.m. Are these messages that are being exchanged between you and Miss McDonald or whoever's phone this is?
I don't know. I don't have any record of that text exchange with Miss McDonald, nor, as I've testified under oath and in a sworn affidavit, that I ever send that.
I think that's good.
It's a tweet from David Channon with the Star Tribune.
Okay, and
so he sounds pretty defensive, right?
Yeah, so that looks like his phone. Looks like his name on his phone up there. How's he going to dodge that?
It was her, right. So if you take that at face value, he retweeted, right? Because at M. Broadcorp is him. If you take it at face value, he retweeted a tweet that falsely said she was convicted of a DWI, right? So, which was one of the planks, if you will, of the lawsuit. So she provides this, and he goes, I have no idea what this is. And by the way, this was apparently sent in 2016. And it was apparently sent to him because that's what the reporter Michael Broadcorp is. So basically, they brought this thing for 7 hours. They obviously, the lawsuit was dismissed. I won't get into details. It was a complicated lawsuit, and I think she had a difficult time proving it. But clearly it wasn't frivolous since she has evidence of him saying something inaccurate about her, and he's reduced to having to be defensive that way as they when they provide him with this evidence. And the last thing, if you can get back to it, is that, can you play it at 2:11? Michelle is going to describe the events that lead up to her being detained and then forced into a wheelchair, and she'll describe being in the wheelchair while conducting a custody trial, that is.
You mean 2:11 on this 2:11 on this video right here, on the same video?
Yeah, 2:11:00, and play for about 2 minutes.
I can't get right to the 00. I don't think it is.
All right, well then a little bit before or after. Okay, right there is fine.
Okay, let's do that.
And complete a trial and then have a break, and then they brought me back. It's very I think it was done to humiliate me, and it certainly did.
So you discussed that on the radio, and then you discussed as well that you had sued Judge Knudsen in federal court. Is that right?
Right. The lawsuit had happened, it was the day before my arrest. So we had filed the lawsuit on September 11th, 2013. That was the first, there was warnings prior to David Knudsen and all of the does by color of law warnings. So they did get the lawsuit, and he was, it was the day of the trial, or the day before. And we went, I asked him to remove himself because we had just sued him in federal court, or I didn't sue him at the time. I didn't sue him. It was my client. I was suing on behalf of my client. I asked him to remove himself because there was a federal lawsuit against him, and he didn't remove himself. We proceeded with day one of the trial. And then on day two, during a break, I was arrested.
All right. Then, we had that whole trial was subject to our last disciplinary hearing, but I want to ask you what you stated next on the CCO interview, if I could. He asked you, Mr. Boyce Olson asked you whether or not Sandra Grazzini-Rucky's rights were, quote, violated by the court. Okay?
Right.
He doesn't ask you, he asks you about her particular rights. Isn't that correct?
Right.
All right. And you go on to say in your response that that on September of 2012, without any hearing. Let me stop there.
Okay. So she goes on, but she basically describes the events leading up to her being then detained. She sued this guy in federal court, asked him to recuse himself. He refused to recuse himself. And the next day, he engineered a process where she wound up having to conduct part of that custody trial handcuffed to a wheelchair. But if she speaks out against him, the bar goes after her. And by the way, the judge, I don't know if you saw the lady with the white hair. By the way, the lady with the white hair, her name is Ann McKinsey. She's a retired judge. So she gets a little business as a retired judge. And then she gets a little business this way. And she gets her pension. And if you didn't notice, her house looks really nice. She's got a really cushy job. The judge did find that she violated the rules in that interview.
Is that right? So it's like it's almost like they treat parents, right? So they put them in jail, they take their children, then they gag them, and they can't talk back about the judge. These judges have way too much power, way too much power.
She's got a year's worth of probation. I think there's a way to appeal it. I don't remember. I don't think that this judge is the final word, but right now, as it stands, she's facing like a year where she has to be overseen by another lawyer. Now, you wanted to show some things in Montana as well.
Yeah, man. It's not just there. It's here as well. Montana judge defends 60-day sentence for man who raped 12-year-old daughter. A judge who imposed a 60-day jail sentence plus probation on a Montana man who repeatedly raped his 12-year-old daughter has become the latest jurist to face the wrath of the for his actions on the bench. I don't. The guys here that gives the judge's names down here. McKeon, Judge McKeon. I don't know if he's even still here. It's a few years ago. So that's one case right there. And here's one that's much more recent. Montana man accused of over 60 child sex abuse counts gets a year sentence. This is just in July. This is Judge Elizabeth Best. This guy has rested on 2019 after a 14-year-old high school student accused him of raping her at a home a year prior. She alleged that Miller allowed an 11-year-old boy to rape her while he watched in a separate encounter. 64 counts of sexual abuse against children, and he gets a 1-year sentence. So this is not just a Midwest thing. This is an out west thing. This is a crooked judge, corrupt judge thing. That's what this is, Mike. And
right.
This is
and if you take it a step further, there's a guy named Wayne Dolcefino who has been doing a series of investigations into Kim Ogg, who is the district attorney in Houston and the surrounding areas, that county. I don't remember if it's called Houston County or if it's got another name, where she gives lenient bail to people suspected of all sorts of crimes, including violent crimes, and deals that lets them off the hook of all sorts of violent crimes. And so that's an issue about prosecutors being soft on crime as well. And you should check out his work, Dolcefino. And he's shown where guys have gotten off on multiple violent criminal raps and then they kill someone in some sort of armed robbery. One guy had like multiple things in Houston, and then he's picked up in an armed robbery in Louisiana. So this, it's not just a problem in the county you're in. These criminals get out and then they don't just stay there. They go to other places to commit crimes. And so you're right, these soft on crime judges are around. There's also soft on crime prosecutors that are around as well. And all of these issues, just people don't talk about enough, not even close. But hopefully I gave people a compelling case to make David Knudson the worst judge in America.
Yeah, you're right. We certainly could say that. Michael, I tell you, we got to go ahead and give out your website so people can find out more about your books and stuff like that. I got a guest for the next show calling me here, and I got to get everything set up. So we're going to have to cut the interview short here just in a couple of minutes. Well, not short. We only plan on going like 40 minutes or so. So give me
we're 4 books. Pick them up at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, whatever's your favorite one. The first one is called Prosecutors Gone Wild, The Trial of Chuck Benici, John Gliatoni, and Louise Marshall. Second one is The Definitive Dossier of PTSD and Whistleblowers. The third one is called Bullied to Death, Chris Machney's Kafkaesque Divorce. And finally, Sandra Grazzini, Rucky and the World's Last Custody Trial. So any of those 4. I've recently published a few things on my blog that we'll come back and we'll talk about those.
Okay.
And then also I published recently an interesting article about a group called Answer, Act Now to Stop War and End Racism, for the American Conservative. It's theamericanconservative.com. But go find that article. It's a couple of days old. It's a leftist group out of Chicago. They're interconnected with some other leftist groups that I've known about for several years. But that's an interesting article as well. And I've got good stuff coming up, but I think we're wrapping up the show.
Always great to have you on the show, Michael. You check him out, folks. He does great work, and he certainly has a heart for children and exposing criminality, which is why we're a fan of him here on this show. Michael, thanks so much, and we so much appreciate you joining us today. And sorry we had to kind of cut a little bit short, but sometimes how that goes. But we'll have you back, I'm sure, plenty times here in the future.
Sure.
Thanks.
All right. Have a great rest of the week,
Thanks,
everyone.
Michael. You too, buddy. Okay, there goes Michael Volpe. He is gone now, and let's go here. Thanks so much, folks, for joining us here today. We are just out of time. We're going to end this broadcast here now. I'm going to make a couple of phone calls for the next show and get everything set up for that. You can check out Michael Volpe's work at these the locations that he stated, and buy his books and help support him, because guys like myself and Michael, we don't, we depend upon you, the folks, to support us, and we appreciate that. Thanks so much for looking in here. I'm your host, James White, and this has been Critical Disclosure Radio. I'll be back in about 20 minutes with Montana Daily Gazette Radio. Until then, this is James White saying bye now.